Okay, so this is part 2, and as I said, we have been building up the energy quite dramatically over these past few days, and this is now Monday evening, May 11, and we are just at the eve of really big things, big events, big announcements coming out, most likely Tuesday morning. Why I'm saying that? Okay, there's several things. Saturn just turned retrograde a day earlier. Mercury now enters Gemini at 6 p.m. pretty much on Monday the 11th. Gemini, its own sign here. And Mercury in Gemini is really bringing all the powers of Mercury to the forefront, helps us to understand, to integrate. So this is great timing for a big announcement, particularly so as this is also hexagram 20, which is contemplation, that first 5 degrees or 6 between 00730 and 545 Gemini, hexagram 20, and hexagram 20 is making a channel. Again, if we resort to the human design for a second, I show you that in one sec. Hexagram 20 and hexagram 10 are connected, so the moon, the moon's south node, I should say, and Mercury are making a channel here. I'll show you this, just one sec. That's this one here. 10, that's the lunar south node. And that is 20, that is the direct insight into what's going on. So we are really helped by existence. These things, these events happen in the right moment when we are best prepared, when we have the best energetic environment to understand and to digest. I mentioned the 4323 before in my other podcast. If you haven't listened to that, it might be a good complement to this one. So 2010, that's the direct insight into the reality of nature. 23 to 43, that's called the channel of direct manifestation, of being able to channel the energies from the third eye down to the throat in a very original way, from freak to genius. That energy is on between the 8th and the 14th of May, right in that window where 3 planets change directions. And when the wave starts breaking, when we enter this 13-month period, the 9 in Magenta's channeling were indicating we are just entering this 13-month period, which is really taking down the deep state. It will take that long to have it all accomplished. By June 2021 we should have fully arrived, and then there's a 3 to 5 year transition period before we as a global society have arrived fully in the new era of abundance, freedom, sovereignty, and when all the dark energies have been taken care of and the transition is complete. So it's a great time to be alive, and we're right at the cusp now of big changes really coming into the open. So this chart is particularly powerful for Washington DC cast for Monday night the 11th, and you see Saturn Palace, which is the asteroid ruling intelligence, science, art, the ability to express the intelligence, give it form, give it a face. Saturn helping to bring that down into reality. Saturn always helps with the materialization, if you want, of it's the gravitational force in a way which pulls those higher dimensional frequencies into the material realm. At that point also, when Mercury entered Gemini, we have a Moon, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction, just getting more exact, and as we go over the next few hours, that will be on Monday night. So by Monday night, really, we can expect probably something like 8 or 9 Eastern Daylight Time, around the time when everybody sits in front of their news. And then is when probably this high profile announcement will be made, which will change history forever. This is even more so indicated by Haumea. It's another new planet named after creation god, which indicates that a totally new timeline is coming into vision, that we will be really almost, it's almost like a crowbar breaking the crust of all that which is wrong. It won't have an immediate success, but it's that first moment when you break through that crust, when you start cracking it open. That's what it feels like. And this 0 degree Leo midheaven with Varuna right up there. Varuna, named after a Hindu deity of justice, truth, of having everything taken care of in a highly, what's the word here, I would say, it's just that everything is done right, that everything is done by the book, exactly down to the letter, to follow the rule of the universe. And Varuna squaring Radamantis, I was speaking about that also earlier in my broadcast about taking down the Cabal, where I gave the bigger outline of that energy structure. It's interesting that in this chart, this is very prominent. Radamantis, that is again a mythological figure where the name originates from. He was put in charge to rule over the dead. That's a pretty big one. So there's great judicial power in this Radamantis Varuna square, which will be on and off exact for the next few years. So I mean, we know this will not be resolved in an instant. This will be going on for a while, and we have Saturn and Pallas here exactly opposing that Varuna T squared by Radamantis. So this energy is really getting activated, and now as Saturn is moving backwards, we are moving into the depths. The outline has been painted. Now we fill it in with all the details and all the little nooks and corners. Then, that is Tuesday early morning. We are now at 6:30 in the morning, Tuesday morning. The moon will have a conjunction of Jupiter. The last few degrees of the sign Capricorn the moon will cover on that early Tuesday morning, to then move into Aquarius 20 minutes before midday. So these last few hours before the moon enters the next sign, which is Aquarius, I'm going back here to this chart, Moon-Jupiter conjunction, they will be very interesting, particularly so as it's a void of course moon. Void of course moons are known, actually infamous I should say, for surprises, for unexpected twists and turns, for things we didn't see coming, which took us fully by surprise. And Moon Jupiter, that's a very loud announcement, very loud noise. So this will be a very, very loaded 24-hour period between Monday night and Tuesday night. And in the middle of that, as I say, short before noon on May 12th, the moon will change into Aquarius, into the sign ruled by Uranus. And you remember I mentioned Uranus, the surprise, shock element in this whole thing, in Earth, really rattling our foundations. Many astrologers, when they were doing predictions years ago, they were thinking we would have huge earth changes, that the Earth's crust would be broken up in that time. I think we were able to transmute that energy to a far higher expression. It's still rattling and shocking everything, but it's not happening on a material, physical state that Earth would be shaking. It's the conception of Earth which is shaking. It's the conception of our reality which is about to break into 1,000 pieces and have to be rearranged over the next years. So this is just the initial spark of all that, and let me just finish here, just quickly browse through. I will speak more about that earlier, closer to the event. I'm sure I'm getting back to doing another podcast here. So on Wednesday, just short after midnight, Mars will change into Pisces. That is another interesting little shift, and before that we will have a lunar return for the American nation also on the 12th, and Moon and Mars will have a close alignment and then soon after. So there's lots and lots going on the 13th of May on Wednesday, just 2-3 hours after the ingress of Mars into Pisces. Venus is turning retrograde, and then finally we have the third quarter moon on the 14th, on Thursday, and Jupiter turning retrograde on that Thursday 10:30 in the morning, 10:32. And if we just jump back to this chart once more, the third quarter moon, which is that critical moment when Sun and Moon are exactly 90 degrees before a new moon, the last stage of the 4 parts a lunar cycle has, which is the moment of reorientation, of questioning everything, of adjusting to a new reality. So these 7 days will be interesting between May 14 and May 21 into the next new moon, which will be a Gemini new moon. So short after this third quarter moon, yes, we have the Jupiter station, when Jupiter has reached the maximum degree in this yearly cycle. So again, we have Saturn Venus, Jupiter, all within 2 or 3 days. All the while the Sun is still in hexagram 23, Earth still in hexagram 43, so that energy is carrying through, as I said, between the 9th and 14th. And all these planetary shifts taking place under this seed energy means, as the word seed says, it's just starting to sprout, to break open, to express its energy over the next few weeks. In terms of Venus being retrograde probably for about 6-7 weeks, Jupiter and Mars, Jupiter and Saturn, which both are retrograde for probably closer to 5 months. So it's really the opening of a new book, of a new chapter, the wave starting to break. And I just want to say it again, the notes changed just 3 days ago, actually, only the 5th. I can't believe so much happened in these short 3 days already. Changing the energy from Saturnian to Sagittarian. From Capricorn, the nodes moved back into Sagittarius. I'm talking of the south node, kind of the base on which we are standing. We had that strong contraction in the last couple months. I talked about that earlier too, of the south node in Capricorn, which totally resonates with that social distancing, isolation theme of restrictions and of being put in jail even if you go outside your house. Very, very extreme. And as the nodes changed on that powerful numerological day, the 5th of the 5th month, 5 being the number which is most dynamic. If you look at the magic square, the 5 is in the center, the magic square being the arrangement of the 9 digits in the most powerful way, where each line adds up to 15, each diagonal adds up to 15. You might know what I mean. So the 5-5 change was like opening the floodgates, and sure enough, since the energies have shifted so dramatically, we're moving out of the Capricornian restriction area into the Sagittarian, expansive, freedom-loving, outgoing, wanting to know phase. That's really the big one about the next 18 months, is these two mutable signs, Sagittarius and Gemini, will be where evolution wants us to focus, to bringing the energies from Sagittarius over to Gemini. Higher wisdom will be shared and widely spread, translated into a language everybody can understand, Gemini. So yes, we just entered this 3 days ago, and now we step another whole level up. And just to finish this course here, I want to show you this chart. That's the midpoint chart of the Jupiter station with the American people. What stands out here is the moon at 0 degrees Pisces, Jupiter again at 0 degrees Libra, the black moon at 0 degrees Cancer up here, and then Mars at 1 degree Taurus. So overall, there's lots of new energies. When planets move into new signs, that means something totally new is starting to expose itself. And this was a gradual change over the last few weeks. The black moon moves about 1 degree in 18 days. So that started sometime. Now this is the midpoint chart, you have to be careful. So this is the midpoint chart between the Jupiter station, and the Jupiter station was, as I say, or will be on May 14. So this black moon in the midpoint changed about 18 days earlier, which would be around April 25, 26. So that's when really trip by trip, little piece by little piece, until Flint's exoneration yesterday, and now everything all of a sudden is out. Now we have set the stage for the big number of indictments to slowly be rolled out very systematically, one by one, so it can be digested in an organic way, that this transition is really contained in a way that we won't be overwhelmed as a global collective, that even though it will be very difficult and harsh for those who still believed in all the deceptions, it will be gradually enough to keep up with it. So I could say way more. I leave it at that, and thank you for joining, listening, and talk to you soon again.